Hello Lizzie. Hi Bernie. I am Alice and I'm going to do my thing about Divergent, which is the first book from our book club. But yeah, so I'm going to watch your little video now and I'm going to tell you what I think of the things that you said. Yeah, this is the first question. My initial reaction is I don't even understand what it means. Okay, so I guess the idea of faction before blood is basing the idea that they put more importance in a set of ideals and the way that you act rather than in the sort of heritage that your family has. So I guess it's kind of relevant to modern society in the sense that these days a lot of, well, I don't know, I think a lot of our generation like to be defined by what we think rather than what our family would have us think and what our history and heritage would have us think. So I guess it kind of, in that sense, is talking about that. I don't really massively agree with some of the way that they've split the factions in this book, particularly. I didn't really like, what was the peaceful one? Amity. I didn't really get that. I don't really see that's a qualities that people can have. I don't really understand that. I get erudite and I get dauntless and I get candor and I kind of get abnegation, but I don't really get amity. I don't really see that that's a quality that people can have. I think that's just something that people can aspire to. I don't believe people are naturally born peaceful, and so I don't really understand that faction at all. But I guess so. I don't know. I think because Triss is divergent, and obviously we would all say that we probably are divergent because we're born in a society where we're not any one of like 5 things. I find it really hard to understand, I guess as she finds it hard to understand, that you could just choose a whole set of people and just like put aside everything you've been brought up to believe. Okay, so you just finished talking about whether abnegation is the best faction to rule, and I think that I think what this book is about, or what I've always assumed it was about, is it's about a thing that Bernie taught me the word for, which I didn't really believe was a real word. Dystopia? Yeah, I still don't think that's real. But apparently it's a dystopia. So it's like it's about an ideal of society, but how reality is like a corruption of the ideal of society. So obviously, ideally, government should be run by people that are selfless, because selfless people would be the best people to put everybody else before them and to think of everybody else. But obviously, as you can see in this, it doesn't work because the people that are saying they're selfless aren't selfless. So obviously, this book is about presenting an ideal, like, you know, communism, where there's an ideal of society, and if in theory it works, everything is perfect. But because of human nature, the humanity within it is corrupted the system. So the people, like you say, who I think erudite would be an excellent one for being empowered too, because if they only seek knowledge, they want to learn. But obviously, as the abnegation say, that's not right, because knowledge corrupts. I don't know. I think this is a book about kind of trying to justify an ideal with what is reality, and so I guess in theory, for me, abnegation are the best ones to rule. I can't remember what the question was. I'm really sorry. I'm just being really dense. Let's go back to before Bernie's soul.
Who's braver?
Who's braver? Yes. Okay, I totally understand. That was the longest question. You spoke about that for like 10 minutes. I don't think that Candor is very brave because they say what they think. I don't think they are. And that's probably a bit controversial. But I remember her being like, oh, I think it takes a certain kind of braveness to be honest all the time. I don't think it does. I think it takes a certain kind of selfishness to be honest all the time. Because if you're going to say something that you know is going to hurt someone, but it really annoys me when people do this thing when they're like, oh, I always say what I think. And I'm like, yeah, but sometimes saying what you think doesn't help anybody at all. So like you say, if you know something that's going to help you, you just don't say it. Like if you know something's not going to help the person, like, you know, if they say, like you said, if they say, do you like my new haircut, and you hate it, you're just like, well, it looked good before. You don't tell them that you think it looks awful, because why would you? Because it's not going to help them, it's going to hurt them. And so I don't think it is, actually, and I think it's not brave, because obviously they expect it. So it's like somebody being like, oh, abnegation, it's so selfless being selfless all the time, but it's not really that selfless, because they all have to be selfless. Like, that's their faction. So it's not really brave or like honest, being honest all the time. They just that's what there is expected of them. I don't know, I just think it's like, I don't know if that makes any sense.
What about in our world, like where it's not expected? Like,
yeah.
What would you say? Like,
I guess it is. I can see what she's saying. Like, I can see it takes a certain amount of bravery to say what you think, if it's gonna put you in a negative place. So like, if it helps somebody else, but it's gonna make you look bad. So say, you know, you really, I don't know, you really care about someone and they don't care about you, and it's brave to tell them that, I guess, maybe. But I don't think it's brave to tell people things that are going to make them feel bad, because there's quite a few instances in this where is it the girl who's from Canada originally, and she says something, and I'm like, that's just rude, like, and selfish. Just because you're being honest doesn't make it right. Like, doesn't mean that that's the right thing to say. Just because it's the honest thing doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing to say. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings. I can see what you're saying, but I don't think that it is brave, and I don't think that Dauntless is particularly brave throughout a lot of this. I just think they're a bit stupid for quite a lot of the stuff. Like, oh, it's just throwing knives at each other's heads. Like, what has that got to do with being brave? I think the bits that are better, a better display of that, are like when they're doing the things where they're facing their fears on the weird, like, injection or into the world, that kind of thing. I think that's better, because that's, for me, is a better show of bravery. But I really like what they say about the original mantra, about it being about everyday acts of bravery, rather than like, let's jump off a train, let's paraglide off a roof, blah, blah, blah. And my problem with it is that I think that Triss is actually, from what I've read, she's way more into that side of things. So she's way more into the moments where she's like, oh yes, Dauntless, I'm totally belong here, is when she's just paraglided off a roof, or like climbed up the top of a thing and then won the flag in the challenge. Like, you know, and then she's like, oh, and we all made the circle of hands and it was amazing because we've bonded, and you bond after a moment when you nearly die. And you're like, yeah, but you've missed the point of Dauntless. The point of Dauntless isn't about, like, you know, nearly killing yourself and then you all feel great afterwards. It's about being brave in all of the little situations and like doing the things that, facing your individual fears. And I don't know, I think, because I kind of thought the reading throughout it, I don't know if they made this point and I've just copied it from the book, but like abnegation and Dauntless are quite similar. Like, because kind of bravery, it's quite, I think it's quite brave to be selfless sometimes. Like, human beings as a whole cannot be good for long before the bad creeps back in and poisons us again. Do I agree or disagree, or why? I don't agree or disagree, because I don't think that that's right. I don't think people. Well, I think she's right in the sense that human beings can't be good for long because they will be evil. But I don't believe that they were ever good to begin with. I don't say maybe I'm really pessimistic and negative, but I don't think that. I think it's like this. It's all. The whole concept of these kind of novels is that everything is a veneer, everything appears to be fine, but actually it's not fine, because inherently it can never be fine, because human beings are flawed.
Why?
Because
what makes them evil? What do they want to achieve? I want to know. Why?
Why human beings evil? It's a very deep theological question.
Yeah, but I need to know why. Tell me.
Okay, so Right. I have many theories on this, and it's all. I think it's just to do with the fact that human beings are selfish, and so that's why I don't really understand abnegation as a faction, because I don't believe that any of them, even if they are pretend to be selfless, are actually selfless. Like, I don't believe that they can be, and so I think that that's why I kind of understood Triss when she was in that section, being like, what's this all about? Like, you know, it annoys me that we have to do this, it annoys me that we have to do that. I think that she's just more willing to stand up and be like, I can't do this. But I I don't know. I think that's why I think human beings are. I don't know. I don't think evil is necessarily right, but I think that we're all selfish and we're all willing to be influenced by others. And I think the problem is we're all willing to be influenced by usually someone that's worse than us. This is why sort of like dictators take power, because people are selfish, so they look for somebody to get them an easy way to what they want, which is often not a good way. Like there's often not.
But
a
what
good
do you
person.
want? And why did you want this?
What do humans want? Just to have all of the things that, I don't know, I guess like money and power and an easy life and like safety.
But why?
But why?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Like if you think about it in like a purely animalistic way, like you need a home and you need food and you need like water and you need safety and you need shelter, and so we need those things. But because of the like Liz was saying earlier, people want money because that's what money gives them. It gives them those things, but it's also, you know, like power gives them those things. So like Erudite in this were like, well, you know, I can't get a car because you're giving all of this food to the factionists, and we can't get this food because you're giving this to other people, and blah blah blah. So they're kind of like, they want the things that they can't have, and they're willing to compromise who they are to get those things, because they listen to this one woman, and she's like this figurehead. She's like, you know, the whatever his name, the leader in the Hunger Games, or like a
President Snow.
Yeah, it's like the President Snow of this world, or the word, like whatever. Like just pick whatever dictator you choose, who's willing to come in and be like, well, this is the faction to blame. This is the section to blame. They're the reason we don't have these things, and if we take these people out of that situation, we will have those things. And people are willing to bow down and be influenced by something, and even if they know it's wrong, they're still willing to do it and actually for stuff. Anyway, bye.